Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday, and welcome to the Specialist Trading educational presentation, where today I want to talk to you about two edges that I truly feel can help you survive a down market. Now, it's our opinion right now, because of our proprietary tools and methods, that the market is in somewhat of a downtrend. That doesn't mean it can't change any day or so, but at this point, it is in an overall downtrend. The trouble is, most of us are taught different ways to trade a downward market, right? We're all taught to buy at the lower levels and get some really cheap prices in for stocks or any other markets that's in a sustained downward move. Now, sometimes this works well and it can be to your advantage, but it's been my experience in 45 years of trading that this is really a recipe for a disaster. So what I want to do today is share with you two edges that have really sustained my trading going on 4.5 decades now, and that I truly believe will be able to do that for you. For example, let's look at this example here in ILMN, okay? Now, there's not a lot of information or data here, but most traders who have taken anywhere of a candlestick course or are skilled at candlesticks would say, well, Steve, right here, that's a morning star pattern. That's extremely bullish. That usually is a reversal calling for some type of bottom. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to share with you these two edges, because looking at this same amount of data, the first edge actually generated two signals where you thought there was a buy signal. And it not only generated a buy signal, but it also generated a sell signal. So which one do you take? Do you take the buy or do you take the sell? Well, this is where the second edge comes in that will help you trade these downward markets, because the second edge I'm going to introduce you today actually confirms signals. It tells you whether that you should be taking them or not. And as we see here, the second edge did not confirm the buy. So the candlestick method went out the door and it confirmed the sell. And we all know what happened later on coming into this last month, all right? ILMN fell 150 points. Now, the good thing about these edges is that they're already auto-generated on our platform, the PTS Primo Charting Platform. So if you happen to miss that first one, not to worry, there are more and more of these edges and these setups being generated all the time, okay? So this promises to be a great educational presentation. Remember, once again, everything I'm going to be teaching you can actually be generated, auto-generated on our platform, the PTS Primo Charting Platform. I developed with Pro Trader strategies that actually teaches you how to trade. So welcome once again. My name is Stephen Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. Now, already before I begin, I'm seeing some signs here that people are having difficulty hearing me. So if you're having difficulty hearing what I'm saying, please go to the chat box and type in either yes or no. Yes, meaning that you can hear me okay, and no, meaning you can't hear anything at all, because I don't really want to go any further and sharing with you these two edges if you can't hear anything, okay? I see some people are saying yes. Remember, oftentimes, if you can't hear anything or if the volume is really low, oftentimes it's your own internet connection. So just want to make sure. So please, we have just a couple of people responding, but if you kindly would go to your chat box and just answer yes or no if you're seeing and hearing everything clearly, okay? I'll take just a few seconds to pause here. Okay, we got some more people saying yes, that they hear everything okay. So thanks. I guess it's coming through. Once again, if you can only see the PowerPoint presentation, you can't hear everything clearly. Many times it has to do basically with just your internet connection, okay? Okay, so as I stated, I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. I've been trading for 45 years now. And in my 45 years, I first started on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. In my 45 years, I've traded just about every method, every technique, every system you can imagine. Most likely, even if you think it's brand new, it's most likely been around already. They've just rebranded it and titled it something else. But I can tell you over my experience what works in terms of consistency and what doesn't. So roughly about 15 years ago, I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies and we developed Specialist Trading. And that simply is an educational website, an educational company that basically teaches traders how to trade. We provide all of our students around the world with all the tools and techniques that have shown high levels of consistency so that ultimately you can make your own trading decisions. In my 45 years, the only traders I know who are still trading, since the day I started trading, are the ones that make their own trading decisions. They don't go to chat rooms. They don't wait for the earnings to come out. They don't even care about those things. They don't wait for economic indicators to be released. I myself in the same way. I was taught the same way that those are extremely important. But guess what? I stopped looking at those things over 4 decades ago. And if I'm still here, then obviously the consistent methods actually do work. So that's our goal, to teach you how to trade with the Specialist Edge. Now, before we begin, and I show you a lot of examples today, we are required by law to share this with you. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using and applying these 2 edges, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. Also, please remember that all examples, since we are an educational company, all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, for more education on a daily basis, I invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle. I would suggest copying that down, because every day I post different information, a lot of snapshots of signals and techniques that our strategies have generated, also bits of financial wisdom, things to elevate your trading and to really turn your trading around. So please feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, remember, as I stated in the opening statements, we are first and foremost an educational company. If you've come here today thinking that, well, I guess, Steve's going to tell me what he thinks the market's going to do. Is it going to go straight up or is it going to go lower? You've come to the wrong place. Remember, our goal is to share with you all of this information and the things I've accumulated in over 4 decades so that you can make your trading decisions on your own. You see, a good mentor, a good teacher does not force feed you signals. I know a lot of websites provide that. They say, just come to us, we'll tell you what to buy, what to sell on a nightly basis. That, in my opinion, is doing you a disservice, because you're supposed to make those decisions. It's the educator's job to provide you with the information so that you can do that on your own. So we walk with you and we're there with you every step of the way so that you can ultimately get to that point. As you see right here, my goal is not to force feed you signals or tell you what market to buy or sell, what to tell you what the perfect time frame is. Those are things you have to decide. My goal as a teacher is simply to teach you how to trade with the Specialist Edge. Same edge that has sustained me now for 45 years. Hopefully it will do the same for you. Okay. Now, with that said, this is an educational presentation. A few things I want to make, a few announcements. If you have questions, please wait till the end. I'm a little bit different. I like to take my questions at the end, and I have a lot of slides to share with you. So I don't want to stop for every slide to answer a question. Oftentimes your question is answered just a few slides in the future. So if you have a question, just write it down or try to remember it. I promise I'll answer it at the very end. The other thing is this being recorded? Yes, it is. So if you are having trouble hearing me, or if you're not able to, every one of you will get a link sent to you to this recording, so you can watch it whenever you like, okay? And then lastly, as you see in the chat box, please remember to disable all cameras and microphones. This is not a this is not a interactive presentation where we're going to be viewing each other per our videos and talking over the microphones. This is simply an educational presentation over the PowerPoint. So please, if you haven't done so already, please disable all cameras and microphones. Okay, with that stated, let's begin. And I'd like to start out with something that my mentors taught me, because believe it or not, everything that mostly that you're having trouble with or you're searching for, I was taught the same things, and I went through the same very frustrating period myself. My first 2 years of trading, I didn't make a dime and I was really struggling, and I was on the floor of the stock exchange, but I still couldn't make ends meet. I was lucky enough to have some mentors that taught me everything that I teach to my students around the world today. And this is just one of the things I remember them telling me that has stuck with me. And once I fully grasped it, once I really believed in this concept, that's when my trading started to turn around. And here's what it is. They said, Steve, the market you're trading, regardless of the time frame or the direction it is going, but the market you're trading tells you everything you need to know. Now, this went counter to everything I had been taught. Basically, that's why I was losing money. But I was always taught to listen to some guy on TV tell me what he thinks the market's going to do, because he's an expert, right? Or listen to someone in a chat room. Even though we didn't have the internet then, back 40, 45 years, we had a lot of newsletters. So I was listening to these guys. That was the old school way of having a chat room or a trading room. Or I would wait for the earnings to come out. Or I was told that all the economic indicators, the jobless claims, or the money supply, or the, once again, earnings, all these economic indicators were supposed to give me insight into what direction or what the market was going to be doing. And guess what? For 2 years, none of that helped. Even though I applied them on a daily basis, it didn't work in terms of consistency. Sure, I'd have a really nice winning trade or maybe a nice week or two, and then I'd give it all back when they didn't seem to work anymore. And I'm sure many of you are going through the exact same environment yourself. It's extremely frustrating because you're doing what you've been taught. So my mentor said, listen, Steve, it's going to take some courage, but you've got to throw all that out the window because there's no consistency in that, okay? It's like gambling. Every once in a while, you'll hit a winner, but most likely, if you continue long enough, you're going to give it all back. And that's the exact same thing I was going through. So I said, okay, well, I don't know what it means to listen to the market. The market I'm trading is telling me everything I need to know. Well, how does it tell me that? I didn't know how to listen to that. And I'm sure many of you are saying the same thing. What does it mean to listen to the market? I thought I was listening to the market. Well, this is what we're going to be talking about today, because I'm going to give you 2 edges that are specifically designed to help you listen to the market so that you no longer will have to rely on worn out, outdated methods like earnings, like fundamental news, like chat rooms, like subscribing to some blog that they tell you what to do. You'll be able to use these edges, and they're so simple, and then you'll be able to make your own decisions. Once again, that's our goal. That's the service we provide, education that has stood the test of time so that you can make your own trading decisions. All right, here's the first edge. Strategy number 4. It's a full-fledged strategy with entry, exit, stop placement rules. In fact, it was the very first method I learned from my mentors some 4 decades ago, and I still use it to this day. So let me give you some of the highlights of this particular method. It's a pattern recognition strategy. Now, this pattern, which appears over and over and over again in any market and in any time frame, this is what helps you listen to the market, because this pattern tells you what the market wants to do with a high level of consistency. Now, it was originally designed for traders looking to catch momentum. Now, it still is, but when we say designed to catch momentum, when I was trading this on the floor, we were in and out of trades in less than a minute sometimes, all right? But we've developed ways, at Pro Trader Strategies and myself, we've developed ways to teach you and to help you apply this if you're a swing trader or even a long-term investor. So you don't have to be getting in and out of trades in 1 or 2 minutes. You can use it and use the exit levels we teach you that can stay in the trade for a week, a month, or even a year if you'd like, all right? Now, it's so simple, extremely simple. It only uses one indicator, and that indicator is the 50-period moving average. That's it. So whatever time frame you're trading, if you trade 5-minute bars, if you trade weekly bars, it doesn't matter. If you trade Bitcoin, if you trade currency pairs, or if you trade stocks, does not matter. What we want to do is apply a 50-period moving average to whatever market you're looking at, whatever time frame. And when price is below that 50, the overall trend is down. Therefore, you only want to be selling. You only want to be identifying sell signals. Now, you see how this all made sense, and it's so simple, and we weren't concerned with earnings or with some guy was telling you about the inner workings of a company that should be sold. You already know that. All you have to do is apply a 50-period moving average. It tells you the overall trend instantly. So let's look at some examples. These are older examples just so that you can fully understand the process, okay? All right, we're looking at an older chart of VRSN. Someone looking at this, the way I was trained, would say, well, Steve, there's really nothing to tell here. We're basically in a range market. We're just in a range. We go up, we come down, we go up, we come down. I'm not going to do anything until it breaks out one way or the other, because obviously the market isn't telling me anything. It's telling me it's just going sideways. Well, sure, it may be going sideways, but it's also giving you more information once you apply the 50-period moving average. Because where is price in relation to that 50-period moving average? Price is above. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the overall trend is up. All right. Now, what we want to do is apply the first edge, which is strategy number 4. And there's this buy signal right there. Okay. So even though most traders would say, hey, we're in a sideways market. Well, sure, we're going sideways, but the overall trend is still up. And you have an opportunity to go long before the market went up 20 points. Now, this is fine if the market's going up, but what happens when the market's going down? For example, most traders trade this way. They'll look at this and say, hey, Steve, look at this. We're making a double, a triple bottom here. This is major, major support. I took that $10,000 course on support and resistance and how they apply with the institutions. And you got to buy here because this is what's really, helping the market. Now, before I go any further, I see a lot of people are saying that they're not seeing the screen of the chart. Is everyone able to see the screen, or everyone able to see all this? I'm seeing some people are having trouble, just a couple of people don't see the screen. Okay, let me just share here. Let's go back. If you can hear me, you're just not seeing the screen. Is that what I'm saying? No, just the PowerPoint. So you're hearing me okay, but you just can't see the PowerPoint. Is that what you're saying? I just want to make sure before I try to adjust things here. Let me see right now. Can you see the PowerPoint right now? Okay, now I've kind of backtracked, but I have the PowerPoint on. Okay, yes, it's just the first, can see the PowerPoint window, but the first slide only. Okay, so let's go there. All right, here's the first slide only. All right, now, if I go forward, we may have to use this, which is not the full screen, but this is the way for you to see everything. Okay, now you can see, yes, I think this is actually a problem going on with Zoom, because it's telling us that the screen is sharing. But now, if I expand this, okay, let me expand this. Can you see now where it says support? Do you see that? Okay. Right now on the screen, it should have a line that says support on it. Okay, you see all good now, right? You see that where it says support? I just want to make sure. Some people are saying no, they can't see. Okay, some people say yes, some people say no. Well, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to go just back to that that small. Unfortunately, it'll be this. This is what we're looking at, right? And this is what you can see: the first edge and the second edge, right here, right? Yes, okay. For some reason, Zoom is having trouble once I expand the screen. So I apologize. I'm going to have to use the PowerPoint smaller if that's okay, but you'll still get to see everything happening, okay? Yeah, right. Okay, good. Well, at least you can see this. That's fine. I apologize for that, but once again, I think this is a Zoom problem. But you can see this. I know it's not the larger screen. You're seeing the outline of the PowerPoint presentation, but that's okay, as long as you can see this, okay? So let's fast forward, and I'll start just from the very beginning, okay? Let me just see right here. This is at the presentation which we began. And if you excuse me, I'll just go fast forward. And remember, we're talking about what my mentors taught me, okay? The market you're trading, regardless of time frame or direction, tells you everything you need to know, okay? So the basic thing is, we're taught not to listen to the market, and myself included. I don't want you to think like, you know, I have it all figured out. I was taught the same way most of you were, and basically nothing worked for me. So I had to let go of these things and learn how to listen to the market. So these are the two edges that can help you listen to the market. And I'm sorry for backtracking, but the first one, which we're going through, is strategy number 4, okay? Remember, strategy number 4 is a pattern recognition method designed for traders looking to catch momentum, and it only uses the one indicator. That's the simplicity in it, okay? So let's look at some quick examples, and this is what I was talking about. So we're just backtracking just a little bit, so don't worry, you didn't miss the main things of the presentation. All right, we're looking at VRSN. This is what I was talking about earlier. Obviously, it looks like we're going sideways, right? We're just in a range. But what happens when you apply the 50-period moving average? Price is above. So what is the market telling you? Not some guy on TV, not some chat room, and not even some guy in a webinar like myself. What is the market telling you? Telling you the overall trend is up. Therefore, if the overall trend is up, we're only going to look for buy signals, okay? And guess what? Strategy number 4 generated a buy signal right here, and the market went up 20 points, okay? Now, it can work the opposite way, and this is where we had stopped earlier. Here's the support line I was talking to you about. This is where I had stopped earlier before we fixed the PowerPoint. Most traders have trouble in down markets. That's the whole purpose of this particular webinar today, because they'll look at something like this and say, Steve, this is support. I mean, I know I have that $10,000 platform that I took from a course, and it tracks support and resistance. It tracks what the institutions are doing, and this is major support, so I'm going to buy, all right? Now, if we have support right here, this is based on tired, worn out methods. There is no consistency in support and resistance. I found absolutely none in my 45 years of trading. I used to trade with the institutions, and trust me, I wouldn't rely on anything they're doing. They have some of the worst track records I ever trade with. They would enter orders with me when I was on the floor. So what's the best way and the most inexpensive way to find out what the market wants to do? Apply the 50-period moving average. This is why traders have such a difficult time in a down market, because they think things look great, there's support, and in all actuality, what is the market telling us? Not some guy in a chat room or some overpriced course. What's the market telling us? Telling us it wants to go lower. And just because it's telling us it wants to go lower, we can't just sell at the market. We need some structure in the form of a strategy. That's our first edge, strategy number 4. And it's generating a sell signal. I'm sure you can guess what happened after that, right? Okay, what happened to the support? And look what happened here. Stock was trading around 25, 26, and then gapped down. Obviously, there was some news or some event that caused this to really open much lower. Isn't it funny how we were warned of that weeks in advance? Okay. Now, as with all methods, nothing works 100% of the time. For example, we had some really nice sell signals here, and this gets traders really excited. You could have used this to exit your long position. So you jump in on this example right here in SIX, and you say, hey, we're below the 50. Strategy number 4 generated a sell signal. So I'm going to short, I'm going to buy some puts, I'm going to short the world. And then look what happens. It goes higher. You say to yourself, well, we're still below the 50. And another sell signal has been generated. So I'll double up. I'll sell some more. Maybe I'll sell some more puts, or buy some more puts, I should say. Sell some options, maybe. Maybe I'll go short the market. And it still goes up. So at this point, you're probably beating your head against the wall, saying, okay, I'll take the loss. So you get yourself stopped out and go, wow, okay, this doesn't work very well, but I'll give it a little more time. I'll give it a second chance. And price kind of drifts lower, but it's still above the 50-period moving average. Even though we opened lower, we're closing above, so that counts. And we have 2 buy signals in a row. So we say, okay, I'm going to make all my money back. I'm going to double up, triple up, whatever, buy the calls. You're all excited to make your money back you lost on the first 2 losses. And then this happens, right? Before you want to strangle me, before you want to say, hey, this stuff doesn't work, you're like all the rest of the guys I spend money on, this is where edge number 2 comes. And this is the PET D. This is a tool I was introduced to some 4 decades ago on the floor of the stock exchange, that at the time, things were so antiquated, we had to calculate by hand. The good news is we've taken all of the hard work out of it for you. And we've developed it, Pro Trader Strategies, myself, and with the help of high-speed computers and with programmers, we've developed it into a color bar tool. Now, here's how we're going to be using it today as a signal confirmation tool. There are literally dozens of ways to use the PET D, but using it with strategy number 4 as a second edge, we're going to confirm if we should be taking that signal or not. Now, remember what we said, this is a color bar algorithm. It really helps with any market, any time frame, because it's so sensitive. It is literally translating what the market wants to do and then telling you. Remember we said this whole webinar is about listening to the market. Now, most of us at this point, once the stock probably gapped down here, would say, hey, this is a really bad stock. We better sell our long-term position here. And the minute you get out, this is what happens, right? Look familiar? Happens just about everybody. But if you had applied the PET D, the translator, just click it on our platform, and it automatically changes the colors, either red or green. And look at the consecutive red bars that were right here. At this point, you would have known that the market was telling you it wanted to go lower, and you could have exited and been out of all this downward trend. Now, right here, when you had consecutive green bars, what's the market telling you? It's translating that it wants to go higher. So you could have maybe gotten in if you wanted to. So you see the importance of this. Once you know the short-term direction, you can confirm if your strategy is in sync with that direction. So here's how we're going to apply these tools in a downward market. All right. The combination of these 2 edges is called our dynamic duo, probably one of our most successful and popular packages, trading packages we have at Specialist Trading and Pro Trader Strategies. We're combining these 2 edges to really elevate and increase your odds for consistency in trading any market and any time frame. Here's how it works. All right, these are the rules for dynamic duo trading, regardless of market or time frame. You're only going to trade strategy number 4 buy signals that are colored green by the PTS. So in other words, when you get a up arrow signal, the bar above that must be colored green. Conversely, you're only going to trade strategy number 4 sell signals that are colored red by the PTS. So when you get a down arrow above a bar, the bar below it must be colored red by the PTS. That's it. Doesn't matter if all the bars before it are a different color. Doesn't matter what all the bars after it are. It's just the bar either above or below the signal arrow. Let me show you what I mean here, okay? And remember, everything I'm going to be showing you is auto-generated on our platform. Just one click away, access on the PTS Primo Charting Platform. So it may seem a little complicated now, but you'll be able to access this on the platform with one click. All right, let's look at this older chart in APA, all right? It's coming down, then going right back up, then coming back down again and sideways, all right? Kind of a difficult market to figure out. But what's the first thing we want to do is we want to apply strategy number 4, which already incorporates the 50-period moving average. So you don't have to actually plot it if you're using strategy 4. You should have it up there, but I'm just showing you the simplicity of how everything is contained within strategy number 4. All right, what you want to do is once you click on strategy number 4, click on signal arrows, and you'll see the signals appear. Now, some of them are better than others. This one worked out pretty well. This one didn't work out at all. This buy signal worked out very well, and these buy signals didn't work out at all. All right, so how could we have filtered out the lesser ones from the better ones? This is where edge number 2 comes in, the second part of the dynamic duo, the PTS. Click on the PTS, and it automatically changes the colors. Now remember, we can only take sell signals if the bar below the arrow is red. We can only take buy signals if the bar above the arrow is green or outlined green. So let's look at the first signal, the individual signals. This was a sell signal. The bar below it is red. Doesn't matter what the ones are before or after. So that's a valid signal. Had we taken that, well, guess what? In about a week or so, we could have potentially made 5 points. Here's the next sell signal, but what color is the bar? It's outlined colored green. So can we take that signal according to the dynamic duo? No. And therefore, we would not have lost any money. Now, here's the next signal. It's a buy signal. What color is the outline of the bar? It's green. So the PTS is confirming that it's okay to take, and had you taken that in the next 2 weeks, you could have potentially made 8 points. And now it's followed by a series or a cluster of buy signals. But what color are all of these buy signals, the bar above the arrow? They're all red. They're all outlined red. So can we take any of these? Absolutely not. Buy signals need to be colored green. And look what happened. You see how the PTS protected you? This is how you take your trading to the next level with a dynamic duo. All right. This is how you can protect yourself in a down market. These 2 edges are extremely powerful, but simple to apply. And so let's see how you could use them in a down market. Let's look at some recent signals, how they would have protected you. Because for the past month or so, we've been coming down very sharply. Most traders have been having a very difficult time with this because we're all taught what? Well, we get down to a certain level. Now you got to buy, right? So you buy and it keeps going lower and lower. All right. Even today, an hour ago, when I was looking at the market, it just couldn't get out of its own way. Sure, there may be a rally later on, but you know, it's very difficult to get a really nice sustained one because all of a sudden it goes back down. So everything I'm going to be showing you right now is from what happened within the last month or so. Okay. Let's look at the chart here in Lulu. This was just a couple of weeks ago, actually a week or so ago. Now, here's why most traders have difficulty in downward markets. They'll see something like this and say, well, Steve, this is just an upward market and we're pulling back. So I was always taught we want to buy on the pullback, right? We want to buy a little lower because it's going to go right back up and make higher prices. Well, maybe, but what's the first thing we want to do is we want to see what the overall trend is. So we want to apply the 50-period moving average. Now, we ask ourselves, where is price in relation to the 50-period moving average? Can you all see that? Price is below. So we automatically know that the market is telling us what? Wants to go lower. And if it does bounce the way it did right here, these are selling opportunities, not buying opportunities. All right, so let's add our first edge. Strategy number 1. Now, we teach you in the course all of the rules to strategy number 4, okay? It's not a black box method. It's not a system. It's a strategy with different rules for entry, different rules for exit, different rules for stop placement. Remember, you can decide where you want to enter, where you want to exit, where you want to place your stop. But the basic foundation is taught to all of our students, okay? So a great way to check your work is by applying the platform. Once you have the platform in front of you, you no longer have to feel like, well, gosh, am I doing this right? Did I properly identify a valid strategy number 4 signal? Because let's say you think you see one here. The best way to check your work is by, on our platform, click on strategy number 4. In the drop-down menu, click on signal arrow, and there should be a signal arrow exactly where you thought a strategy number 4 setup had been generated. And if you thought it was on this bar, you're correct. So you see how we're trying to train you how to make your own decisions. You see how you made the decision on your own. You didn't have to listen to some guy in a chat room. You didn't have to subscribe to some service or go to a blog or wait for the guy on TV to tell you what to do. You're, for the first time, learning how to trade on your own. All right, so that's a sell signal. But we want to apply the second part of the dynamic duo, which is the pet D. So once again, on our platform, it's as simple as clicking on the pet D right here. And in order for us to take that signal, that bar below the sell arrow needs to be colored or outlined red. Guess what? It is. So that is a valid dynamic duo sell signal. Now, had you taken that, maybe you bought the call, maybe you bought the puts, maybe you shorted the calls, maybe you actually shorted the stock. Either way, it was a nice setup because the stock fell 17 points in the next 3 days. Let's look at VRSK, all right? Same thing. Most traders would look at this and say, well, Steve, gosh, this is a classic uptrend. Higher highs, higher lows. So we've got to buy this. And on top of that, look, we have a bullish engulfing pattern right here. So I don't know, the market's telling me it wants to go higher. Well, sure, if you listen to those worn out, older ways of trading, it is telling you. But we're not listening to that anymore because we know there's no consistency in that. What are we listening to? We're listening to the market. And if we apply the 50-period moving average, what is the market telling us? It's telling us it wants to go lower. The overall trend is down. So any bounces, any rallies should be viewed upon as selling opportunities. So therefore, we want to look for strategy number 4, sell signals. Now, looking back here, I can see a sell signal. And I want to confirm, click on strategy number 4. Guess what? I was right. It was right here. Okay. But in order to confirm it, let's add the pet D. I want to make sure that this bar is colored red. So I apply the pet D. And yes, it was. So we have a valid strategy number 4 sell signal. And nothing much happened for the next week. But then look what finally happened. It kicked in and we had a 20-point gain potentially. Okay. So you see the simplicity of this process. And even though we tell you to apply the 50-period moving average, that is already in the inner workings of the strategy. That's one of the rules, that you have to be below the 50 to generate sell signals. You have to be above the 50 to generate buy signals. Okay. Now, if you missed that, guess what? There was another signal right here. Let's look at this example in KLAC, okay, KLA Corporation. Now, this is a little bit more advanced because we're originally below the buy-sell line. We close above it for 2 bars, then close right back down below it. So you could say to yourself, well, gosh, I don't know what I should do. We were above it. Now we're back down below it. Are we going to go back above it? This is where the dynamic duo can help you. This is where applying the pet D can confirm what you should do. Now, if the sell signal right here in front of you was colored green, most likely you should not take that. But look what happened. It was colored red, and the stock fell 35 points in 3 days. This was just a week or so ago. Here's an example in ASML. Once again, we have 2 sell signals colored red below the 50, 65 points in the next week, coming into July, coming into last week. Now, once again, this is why most traders fail. They'll look at this older example here in CHTR. This is going back to April, a little bit lower, or I should say longer than we'd like to look at. But for examples purposes, we just want to make sure that you understand, just because we're going sideways and it appears we're in a sideways market does not mean the market doesn't want to do something. If we apply the 50-period moving average, it's just simply telling us that we're going sideways in an overall downward market. So for the time being, yes, we're going sideways, but for the time being, we're just in a holding pattern because we want to go lower. So this does not mean that we're, having some type of support right here or some type of base building. It's telling us we want to go lower. So we're looking for sell signals. We apply strategy number 4, and we see there are a total of 3. In order to confirm it, we apply edge number 2, which is the PET D, and we see that all bars are colored red. 140 points, okay, in the next month. So you see how simple this is, but how powerful it is. All right, here's the chart we opened up with. This is the ILMN, okay? Once again, we thought that, well, this was a morning star pattern, Steve. I took that real expensive course on the candlesticks, and I have that platform that generates these signals, and this is very positive. Well, sure, it may be a good signal, but we're not basing it off of the morning star pattern. We're basing it first off of the direction of the market. Well, we have 1, 2 closes below, and then we close back up above. So it's kind of like oscillating above and below. We're not really sure yet. And then when we apply strategy number 4, we see that we have a buy signal here and then a sell signal. So once again, this is where the dynamic duo is really key. It really helps us because once we apply the PET D, it will confirm which signal to take. Obviously, if we had taken the buy signal, had we been trading with the dynamic duo, we wouldn't have taken it because it's outlined red. So we're not going to buy at all. Even though it's a morning star pattern, doesn't matter. We're only going to take things that are confirmed by the PET D. And the sell signal was confirmed. And that's where we got the potential 150 points coming into the end of June into this month, July. Now, I want to show you some other markets and other time frames that we can apply the dynamic duo. Remember, it's not just a stock method for downward markets. For example, here's a weekly chart of the QQQs. That's the ETF that represents the NASDAQ market. Now, these are all weekly bars, but the same process applied. This is a valid strategy number 4 sell signal that's colored red by the PET D. Guess what? This was in the beginning of April. If you wanted to use this as a market directional tool, you would have known that in April, most likely the NASDAQ was going to be heading lower. So you could have used this to tell you the direction of the market because there's a high probability if the QQQs were going lower, then obviously the NASDAQ stocks were going to be going lower too. And the NASDAQ and the QQQs fell 80 points, which represented thousands of points in the Dow. Now that's ETFs. Let's look at a 4-hour chart of the British pound, okay? Same process. We have a strategy number 4 signal that's colored red. And in less than a day, you could have potentially captured 150 pips. That's roughly over $1,500 per unit. And we've all seen how Bitcoin has been falling out of bed, right? Well, if we applied this to a daily chart, we had a sell signal in Bitcoin back in April that was verified by edge number 2, the PET D. We also had a buy signal, but it wasn't confirmed because what was the color here? It was red. So we would not have taken that. We would have taken this, or let's say you're long Bitcoin and you get this signal. Well, most likely, if this is telling you Bitcoin's going lower, I would pretty much maybe exit my long position and wait for a buy signal to be generated in the dynamic duo. And if you had missed that first one, well, you could have taken advantage of this one. Either way, if you had gone short, potentially could have made nearly 23,000 points in Bitcoin. So do you see, it makes no difference what market, what time frame, but this can really help you with downward markets because most of the time in a downward market, we hold on to positions far too long, right? I'm sure many of you are holding on to losers right now, hoping and praying that they'll turn around. Or else you see that a stock or a future or currency pair has gone down tremendously and you say, I've got to buy it right now. That chat room says it's too low, it's oversold. So you buy it and it goes even lower and lower, right? This is how the dynamic duo can help you in these markets. So let's recap. What you want to do to gain these 2 edges for consistency is to first apply strategy number 4. As I stated, I continue to trade with strategy 4. I was using it this morning to trade the markets, the E-mini futures intraday, and I had some really nice trades to the downside when the market was going lower in the morning. So apply strategy number 4, but in order to get a high level signal, what you want to do is take it up a notch and confirm it with the PET D. That's a tool I was first introduced to some 4 decades ago on the floor of the exchange. I continued to use both these today. And when you apply both of these, the color bar tool along with strategy number 4, you get what we call our dynamic duo. Because these two edges together are so powerful, they form a synchronicity of success. They really, we've gotten testimonials from traders around the world that say their trading has elevated increasingly just by applying the dynamic duo. And then lastly, to apply the dynamic duo and to simply and easily access it, you need the PTS Primo Charting Platform. Everything you saw today was by using our platform that I developed with Pro Trader Strategies. So ask yourself, do you think these two edges I just shared with you can help your trading for the remainder of 2022? I think your answer right now, after seeing these few examples, is a resounding yes. So here's a great attendee discount we have for all of you watching this presentation. What we're going to do is offer you our dynamic duo special. This is strategy number 4, along with the Pet D. Now, in the graphic, you see the box there with strategy number 4. It says stock strategy because when I first started teaching this, we basically just had it geared towards stock traders because I came from the floor and that was my method of market of trading the stock market. But over years and from our students around the world, they told us that it works in any market, in any time frame. So pay no attention to that title there. It can be applied to any market, any direction, okay? You're going to get instant course access, detailed instruction. And remember, we're sharing with you a basic fundamental setup, but we share with you also 6 or 7 different entry points, 6 or 7 different exit points, and 6 or 7 different stop placements. Remember, our goal is to provide you with this smorgasbord of information with the goal of ultimately having you make the decision. So you can decide, well, I'd like to take this entry because it's a little bit more aggressive, or I'd like to use this exit because it's a little more conservative, or the stop placement because it's less risk, or someone would do the opposite. You have to trade what makes you feel comfortable. Now you'll get the automatic buy and sell arrows, the entire course rules. You'll also get the Pet D, but guess what? We're going to take it up a notch by giving you 4 extra trading techniques, completely different and separate from what I shared with you today, that are only used with the Pet D. So you'll get that included with this. But here's what we're doing as well. Remember, we shared with you everything today were displays from the PTS Primo Charting Platform. So we'd like to also throw in a full 12 months of the platform. Now, we usually charge over $1,700, close to $1,800 for a full year. As part of this special package, we're going to throw in a full year for only nothing. You're going to get a full year free of our platform. Now, many students say, well, what do I get on the platform? Just strategy 4 and the Pet D, that's it? No, you're going to get things that I've accumulated in my 45 years of trading that you won't find on any other platform. These are things that I've mainly taken from the floor when I was trading, as I said, making markets as a specialist. For example, yes, you'll get strategy 4 and the Pet D directional tool. You'll also get our proprietary exit levels, the signal scanner, strength of trend tool, over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators, personalized tech support, and a host of different techniques and methods that, as I stated earlier, you won't find anywhere else. They're not on any other platform because there are things I've accumulated and taken from my years of trading on the floor. Now, let me share with you what I think are the most important out of the list right here. That's our proprietary exit levels and the signal scanner. Now, we share with you in the course upwards of 7 different methods for exiting, but this is just one of them that we've auto-generated on the platform. And so if you like this exit level, you can use it on our platform. For example, this was a dynamic buy signal in CRM. It's an older signal. And here's what you would do if you wanted to use that exit plan. Click on strategy number 4. And in the drop-down menu, instead of clicking on signal arrow, click on range extension exits, and you'll automatically see these exit levels appear. Now, if you're the type of trader that wants to get in and out quickly, you would place a limit to sell here. If you'd like to get a little bit more bang for your buck, you place your limits to exit either here or here. And as we see, if you had placed your exit limit here, in a couple of weeks, you would have had a nice 26-point gain. Now, the only thing we always tell our students is to exit at the 4th and final level, because most of the time that's when the trend changes. So you see how powerful these exit levels are, and you'll only find them on our platform. Now, the other thing is the ability to scan for signals. Now, let's say we had given this presentation a month ago and you became a student of the Dynamic Duo course. You could have scanned for a buy signal just a couple of weeks ago in EA, okay? You could have said, okay, We have a buy signal here. We're above the 50-period moving average, but I'm a student of the dynamic duo course, so I'm going to apply the PET-D, and guess what? It's not a valid signal. Now, even though it's been coming down lower and lower, and it's kind of making a base, remember the title of today's presentation, how to increase your edges for success in a downward market is by applying the dynamic duo. So you would not have taken this setup, and you would have saved yourself a good amount of time. This is why most traders fail in a down market. They think, oh, it's tremendously oversold. That guy in that chat room says it's okay to buy, so I'll buy it. Or, they hold on to a position for far too long. These two edges can help you survive a down market tremendously. They've helped me tremendously over the years. I know they'll be able to help you. And besides that, this is a fantastic, fantastic discount. Let me show you exactly what it is, okay? We're going to throw in strategy number 4, the PET-D, plus a full year of the PTS Primo Charting Platform. Now, let's break this down. If we bought these separately, strategy number 4 would cost close to $700. The PET-D would cost close to $5,000. And as we said earlier, the PTS Primo Charting Platform for a full year is over $1,700. So altogether, you would normally pay close to $7,500. Do not worry, we're not going to charge you anywhere near that. Here's the great offer we have for all of you today. We're going to discount that tremendously. In fact, we're going to only charge you a one-time payment of $497, less than $500. You can be up and running and then establish a small payment plan of $97 per month. That's it. You can be up and running as early as today. Now, we have a lot of students that say they come aboard with the Dynamic Duo package, and they say, well, Steve, this is great, but listen, I'm sold. I just want to purchase it outright. Well, you still don't have to pay $74.55. We'll discount it, and you can pay in full for $49.95, which is still a great offer. You're still getting that full year of the platform, plus you own Strategy 4 along with the PET-D. Okay, so this is a great, great offer. Most of our students take the one-time payment of $497 and the $97 per month. 2022 is halfway over. We're at the halfway mark here. So you owe it to yourself to finish the last part of the year in the right direction. I can almost guarantee you that the majority of you today, we have a pretty large crowd here today, the majority of you are not seeing the type of results that you were either promised or that you wanted to, or made a promise to yourself that you would receive at the beginning of the year. It's okay. It's not too late to turn things around. Finish the last part of the year in the right direction. Finish the last part of the year strong. Become a student of mine in the Dynamic Duo course. Here's how to do that. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. As you can see, I developed the platform with them, and they're in charge of all of the discounts as well as the tech support with the platform. I would strongly suggest giving them a call at 310-598-6677. They have trading consultants manning the phones. If you have any questions about price or the platform or tech support or data, they would be there to answer all of those questions. Now, that link you see at the very bottom is the link that will take you to the info page, as well as the sign-up page if you'd like to sign up online, okay? Now, that's not a live link, but a live link has been posted in the chat box. So you can just click that on in the chat box, and it will take you to that page, okay? Now, I promised you I would reserve the last portion to answer any questions. If you have any questions concerning what we went over today, what I taught you, please do not hesitate to ask. I see in our chat box, most of the questions were about not being able to see or hear clearly, but I'm glad that we had that fixed. And thank you all for helping out. And I appreciate it. And I'm sorry we had the Zoom problem there. But if you have any questions concerning what I taught today, please go to the chat box and type them in. I see someone is asking, can this be applied to commodities? Yes, it can, because that's very important, because in down markets, if we go into a sustained downward market, a lot of traders switch from trading stocks or other markets and they go into commodities, which are more valid for the time. And yes, there are some tremendous signals happening in wheat and in gold, as well as in crude oil. So it makes absolutely no difference what market or what time frame, okay? They work just as well. Wherever this pattern appears, you will get a strategy number 4 setup. And the PET-D translates what any market or time frame wants to do, so it makes no difference, okay? As you saw, I gave you some examples in Bitcoin. I also gave you an example in the currency pairs, so it makes no difference. And ETFs as well, okay? Good question. Any other ones while we have you here? Someone is asking, oh, okay. Yeah, they said, can sell signals be translated to buying puts? Well, remember, our job as a mentor is simply to provide you with high probability setups. Now, how you decide to trade them is on your own, is your own decision. Now, this is not an option class. It's not even a stock class. It's not telling you how many shares to buy or sell. But yes, I mean, if you're thinking something's going down, well, sure, you can translate them to buying puts. Sure. A lot of our students do this. I'm only telling you this from what our students have told us in testimonials. A lot of our students don't trade stocks. They don't trade any other markets, but what they do trade are options. And this is perfect for options. If you get a sell signal, you can buy the puts. A lot of our students will purchase a spread that has a downward bias, okay? And here's one thing I did want to mention. Because we've been in a downward market for the past month or so, does not mean that these signals will only be generating downward signals. Once the market turns around, let's say we go for a sustained amount of time above the 50-period moving average, well, you will start to see buy signals being generated. So you can quickly reverse. The only reason we highlighted this for downward markets is because we've been in a downward market for so long, and a lot of new prospective students and clients are saying they're having a difficult time with the market lately. They can't seem to get anything to work. And that's why we titled this Two Edges to Help You in a Downward Market, because you can do just as well in a downward market as you can in an upward market. It's just we have this bias, the stigma, they're thinking that, oh, the market's going down. Oh, I'm going to lose money. Or yeah, it's because we're all taught the wrong things. Remember, I was taught these same things 4 decades ago, and I couldn't make money. But once you learn how to listen to the market and it tells you what it wants to do, you can either sit aside on the sidelines and keep your money in cash, keep your position in cash, or you can jump on board and sell. You can do just as well to the downside as you can to the upside. In fact, I don't usually like to share this, but a lot of our students do better when the market's going down because they go down much stronger, okay? Quick question, how long is this offer valid? Good question. Most of our offers are valid for about a week or so. So, what often happens with students is that they'll get the link to this recording, they'll watch it, and they'll go, okay, well, that seems pretty good, but you know what? I'm going to wait for a while. And maybe they'll have their current strategy have a couple of winners. So they figure, I don't need it. I'm doing okay. And then 3 weeks later, they've lost all the money they made winning, and they're now even worse than they were when I presented this. So then they'll call up Pro Trader Strategies and say, hey, they'll talk to a trading consultant and say, I'd like to take that offer for the dynamic duo for $497 and then $97 per month. Unfortunately, most of the time that's already expired. So you have to, give yourself a little bit of time, but I would say no longer than a week, because most likely we'll move on to the next promotion, okay? And it's just that this, in my opinion, this is a great starter package. If you're having difficulty, or if you're new to trading, or if you're having difficulty and you just want to get back on the right track, this is a great package to have. As I said earlier, I trade the dynamic duo. I was trading it this morning with the E-mini futures. So, I'm testament to this working. I still trade this, and I have been for 45 years. So it's extremely consistent, okay? So watch the video when we send it out to you today. Make up your mind, but I would say, if you can, make up your mind before or on the weekend. And trading consultants are working on the weekend as well, okay? Good questions. Any more while you still have me here? And once again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I'm glad that I didn't get too far into the presentation before we found out that most people weren't able to see everything. But thank you for informing me, okay? Okay, if there are no further questions, I just want you to take one last look at our disclaimer. And I want to thank you for joining us today. I know you have many things to do on your Wednesday. You could be trading, but thank you for coming to listen to this. I hope you learned a little bit, not only about trading, but about our philosophy of trading, about how the only way, our opinion is, the only way you can become consistent is by making your own trading decisions. Therefore, the service we provide is by sharing with you all the things that I've accumulated in 45 years that work, that have high levels of consistency, and then being there with you every step of the way so that you can ultimately make your own trading decisions. That's what we really want. That's what we're trying to instill in all of you. And hopefully we'll be able to get you, not just for having a good month or maybe a good 6 months, but a good decade, maybe a good 3 or 4 decades, okay? That's hopefully what we want. Okay, as we close, I just want to say thanks once again, and I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine in the Dynamic Duo course. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.